in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select Anthony Black from the University of Arkansas. With the 11th pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select Jett Howard from the University of Michigan.
What is good, YouTube? It's been a very, very long time. How's it going? It's your boy Omar with my boy Josh. How you doing?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. Love talking ball with you. Know we got a lot to talk about, so thanks for having me on.
Yes, of course, of course. We're gonna be here for a good time and a long time now. We back. But yeah, the draft just passed. Took a couple days to look back and how when my big board, to be honest with you, got really, really screwed up the moment Ausar went to Detroit. Thought that's where Whitmore was gonna go. I'd expect Whitmore to drop to 20. But all in all, how are you feeling about the two picks?
I was shocked at first. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. But for me, I'd already watched their highlights to prepare for anything in case the Magic went in a direction we weren't expecting. I was okay with the picks. When they said number 6, Anthony Black, when they said 11, Jett Howard, I was okay with the picks. Like, I just tried to see it from, I guess, their vision, their point of view on things. I do see the upside with both of them. It didn't really cross my mind. You know, I didn't want to think about their weaknesses. I didn't want to think about what they can't do. I was just thinking about what they already can do. And I can see why they were taking as high as they were. So I'm okay with the picks. How about you?
Um, the Anthony Black pick in particular, I wasn't too surprised. Ausar being already gone, so the top five, Amena and Ausar, the two top twins being off the board already. Cam, in hindsight, knowing his cartilage issue, probably in his knee, so we don't need another one of those guys. Anthony Black probably is then the pick. He has the versatility to guard 1 through 3, and he's another. All the really good teams have multiple guys that can play off the dribble and create for other guys. So I didn't mind the Anthony Black pick. But if you're going to take someone at 6, I was one of the people that said you have to trade out at 11. You could not add 2 rookies to this team. You could not overflow this roster with guys that needed to play. But at the same time, Orlando needed shooting, so that's what they did. They took Jett Howard. Is it the shooter I thought they were going to take? No, not at all. I thought Grady Dick was going to be the pick, but it was not. It was Jett Howard. Now we're hearing that Jett Howard was playing on a bum ankle in Michigan, so that's why maybe his defensive deficiencies were there, why he was sometimes not the most explosive guy. But he can shoot the ball, and that's exactly what Orlando needed. So Orlando made the 2 picks. And now there's just so many questions because what I thought I knew about this team moving forward, the depth chart, who was going to stay around for long term, who was probably likely gone soon. It's still not doing it. At this point, the only 3 players I know that are started are Franz, Paolo, and Wendell. All of the guards, I don't know. I don't know what to tell him. Cole Anthony, I don't know. Suggs, who I thought was the 2 moving forward, I don't know. Even Markelle, I don't know anymore. So my question to you is, how do you – well, first let me ask you this. What is the most – how long of rotation should a team have, a competitive team?
I've always been okay with 10. I know most people prefer 8 or 9. I think if that 10th person is somebody who doesn't need 20 minutes, but if you give them like around 10 minutes, they come in, do the things you need them to do, then I'm okay with the 10-man rotation. I know Steve Clifford used to run like 9. I know Jamal Mosley, he usually does around 8, but I'm okay with 10, to be honest.
All right. So Steve Clifford always used 9, and that was one of the things I liked about Cliff a lot. And I agreed with his philosophy that players need, in order to play well, they need time to get the rhythm. They need time to play well. So my sweet spot was always 9. 10, again, if that 10th man doesn't really need a lot of time to be into rhythm and he's cool with playing 10 minutes a night, so be it. Weltman already said it. They're done with rookies just being gifted minutes for the sake of getting minutes. Cool. But if that's the way you're going to do it, why take both picks? Because now you're in a very, very tough spot. Because if we're going to go down through it, your guards, or your starting five even, projected would be Markelle, Suggs, Franz, Paolo, and Dell. Then you have, off the bench, you have Cole Anthony, Anthony Black, Jett Howard, Jonathan Isaac, Gary Harris, and whoever you want to insert at center. Bol, Mo Wagner, free agent, whoever you want to be at that center spot, you have 11 guys. So either someone who I thought was going to be here long term is likely out, or you're going to have to go deep, or one of these guards are going to be out. Because my wish list going into free agency at this point only is just to get that backup center who's able to play starter minutes if they have to when Dell misses games. You know, whether at this point with Naz Reid re-signing with Minnesota, Brook Lopez, Nikola Vucevic, whether he decides to do in Chicago, whether it's the trade market, Jonas Valanciunas in New Orleans. If New York is ready to move on from Mitchell Robinson, I wouldn't mind taking a swing at Mitchell Robinson. DeMarcus Cousins wants to come back into the league and he's going to come out the bench. I would love to have Boogie down here. That skill of a big man, you can't really pass that up. But again, you have so many spots, and on the wing and backcourt and at the wing on the wing spots, what are you doing?
The one thing I don't like that Jeff Waltman said in the conference was that, and I understood why he said it, but he was like, everyone's going to have to earn their minutes. I agree with that. But when you put yourself into a situation where there's a logjam, I don't know. It's going to be hard for anybody to develop. We all know Jalen still has to develop. We know like Markelle still has more to his game that he needs to polish up. Cole Anthony, I don't think it's a development thing, but it's more of a efficiency thing at this point with Cole, knowing the type of six-man player he is. And then you bring in Anthony Black and Jett Howard. So, I understand it. You need to fight to earn your minutes. At the same time, if they are and they're still not being developed properly, that's because of the situation they're in. Because if they had gone to a team that doesn't have guards, yeah, they shouldn't just be gifted the minutes, even though it'd probably be easy to get it. But at the end of the day, at least they'd be at least they'll be in the right developmental system. But so it is a tough situation they've already been put into, and I wish they didn't get two guards, but that's the situation we're in today. So I really hope they do fight to earn their minutes because I want to see a lot of both of them. It'd be a shame if one of them didn't get a lot of minutes, the other one did. When you take two lottery picks as well, and I know it's going to be hard. You're going up against Jalen, Cole, Markelle, and a lot of us are expecting Markelle to start next year. So I don't like the situation. I understand why Jeff said those comments, but it'd be hard for anybody in that situation, especially if you're rookies, to fight to earn your minutes.
Yeah, I agree because we've seen multiple players in different teams like Malik Monk, who didn't do a damn thing in Charlotte, but once you put in a structured system that actually goes well in Sacramento, he's one of the best bench players in the NBA. So now you're in a position where if you're Jett Howard, you're likely not going to play a lot this coming up year. You're not beating out Jonathan Isaac if healthy. You're not beating out Gary Harris. With Jett Howard not being a good defender and this team's foundation on being versatile defensively, where Jett Howard is likely not going to fit unless this ankle injury is like really serious and he comes out being serviceable defensively. I don't see how he beats out these guys. Anthony Black, like what you're getting from Jalen Suggs at a very bare minimum. You're getting one of the best backcourt defenders in the league in Jalen Suggs. Markelle's elite playmaking. What you're getting at these guys at the bare minimum. And I don't know that Anthony Black has those skills day one. So I don't think he's starting. And then you have to make that decision on Cole Anthony and Gary Harris. Is Anthony Black going to beat out one of those guys? Because, sure, Anthony Black at guard can play the 3 spot and play defense there. So then J.I. moves down to the 4. So who's getting that knock? Who's barely going to play? If you have a guy like Gary Harris, you want him on the floor. Cole Anthony was your 6th man last season. We saw once Jonathan Isaac minutes, the more he was on the court, the better. So who is going to about to get this knock in terms of minutes played when it's not going to be there? Because you know at the center spot, Wendell's going to get 30 plus, and the rest are going to go to the backup center. But it's that wing and guard spot where I just don't know where Orlando's going from here. Because I believe these rookies can't be traded for 90 days, correct? That's the rule.
I'm not gonna lie, sure.
I know they can't be traded once they're signed for an extended amount of time. So who's out? Someone has to be out the door. Because if you want to take this next step as a team, you have to have these set of players you're willing to go into the season with. Give them time, give them reps to be able to compete, be consistent.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to happen playing 2 rookies that are going to get inconsistent minutes. You're going to have these veterans like Gary Harris. These roles, I just don't see how this works currently as it stands. And this is even before you enter free agency. Like now we know for sure these Admiral Schofield, Kevon Harris, they're not happening this coming up here, which is good. That means we're going a step forward. But this is why I personally did not want to take 2 rookies. It to me, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know where you move from here.
I feel like if I had to pick someone who I would be willing to sacrifice, so one of those rookies, if not both, could get more minutes, it'd probably be Gary Harris. Because there's no way you finally addressed a need that's on this team, which is shooting, and more that Jett Howard can do. If you see his highlights, you know he has more with size than shooting. There's no way you drafted him, and he doesn't get minutes. You're like, finally, we addressed the need, but then they don't touch the court. He needs minutes.
So by saying that, do you really take out your arguably best shooter off the bench in order to plug in more shooting?
I mean, it's a little hard, but I mean, if Jett Howard becomes a better shooter in training camp than Gary Harris, and they think, hey, you know, like he's
all right, then cool. Minutes. So Gary Harris becomes your 2nd best shooter. Like what? Like this, it doesn't make sense with the fact that Anthony Black's biggest weakness is also shooting. Like these 2 picks. Again, this has like Anthony Black looks like he's a great defender, great playmaker, can get to the rim and score whenever he wants. But when you can't shoot, it just creates this stuff where I just don't know where Orlando's going. But if the trade market is there, if the rumors are true that Orlando is trying to trade some of the guys to get an established player, whether it be to start over Suggs, if that's what they're trying to do, then fine, so be it. But at this current moment, we just don't know what Orlando's plan is moving forward. Is Jonathan Isaac on his way out? And that's where Jett Howard just plugs in. These are questions Jeff Bellman and John Hammond have to answer very, very soon.
I think a trade will go down. Before the summer ends, there will be more room on this team. I don't know who that player is going to be, but I believe that a trade will go down. There has to be a trade that happens because not everybody fits on this roster, sadly, and they're going to have to make decisions about who's staying and who's going.
So if you had to name the top 3 most likely players to be moved, who would they be?
So I'm talking about like rotational pieces, not like 2-way players or Mo Wagner or Bobo, like
rotational.
I'd probably say Markelle. I would say possibly I would say Mo Wagner. He is technically a rotational player. And then Gary Harris. And anyone who knows me knows Markelle's my favorite player on the team. But there's just no way you drafted Anthony Black without possibly thinking, okay, he's our starting point guard for the future. And I know he has shooting problems. I get that. Most of the rookies we've drafted in the last decade have shooting problems. But I do believe if that shot does come around to a respectable shot, respectable percentage, then maybe his fit with Paolo and Franz might be better. I don't know if it is. I love Markel. I know what he brings to the table. But at the end of the day, we're here to win championships. We're not here to just settle for the bare minimum. And if Anthony Black's fit with Franz and Paolo is better than Markel's fit with Paolo and Franz, then they gotta think, hey, maybe we don't have to pay Markel if he's not really that guy to be next to our main core. And if Anthony Black's that guy, then ride it out with him now and get what you can from Markel. And that hurts saying, but why would you move on from Cole Anthony, who's your sixth man, who's established himself as your sixth man? He doesn't have to play the biggest role on the team. And the nights his shooting isn't going well, just don't give him the most minutes. And then Jalen Suggs, I mean, his defense is just contagious. Even if he's not putting up like 15 points, like him putting up 7, 8 points, but with his defense and how electrifying that is and how that helps us win games. We've seen that a lot of times, a lot of the moments throughout this year. We've seen that happen. So it just seems like Markel may be the odd one out. And I very well could be wrong, but I don't know. I think Anthony Black's the starting point guard for the future at this moment.
Okay, so for me, I think Markel's a starting point guard day one. I don't think Markel is moved. I think there's a high possibility that Jonathan Isaac's contract is not picked up and they just let him walk. And before his contract becomes fully guaranteed, I believe it's only about 7, 8 mil that's only guaranteed. So I think he might be on the way out. I think one of Cole or Jalen are likely going to be on the way out. Cole Anthony's about to be due for an extension this coming up summer. And if he's not happy and he believes he could be a starter somewhere else, I think he might be someone to be moved out. And then, yeah, as well, Gary Harris. I believe Gary Harris also a guy that if Orlando wants to go just 100% young, they don't want to go the route of vets and they just want to let the young guys fight and where the pieces may fall where they may. Gary Harris might be the one odd man out. But yeah, I think one of the guards of Suggs, Cole, and then J.I. just might just be left to walk, which unfortunate it is because I don't believe that's the way. I just don't see a route where both Jet Howard and Anthony Black getting minutes, unless Jet Howard just day one doesn't get minutes. That's also a possibility. That if what Weltman says is true, you have to earn your minutes, and Jet Howard proves that he's not ready to play this high level basketball Orlando wants to play to make the playoffs and beyond. And it's just Anthony Black and J.I. running the wing spots. That's also a possibility. Or, of course, if Orlando's just ready to make this trade that no one sees coming, where one of these rookies are actually involved and some of the other young guys, plus the draft capital that we still have, is made. I just don't see currently how this roster stands. I just can't see going into training camp and going into the season with this overabundance of players.
And the thing is, it just hurts that if one of those rookies doesn't get minutes day one, then what did we really do taking that pick? Because that was my problem with Mo Bamba in the beginning. I know his motor was the issue, not his talent. But Vucevic had an all-star season. We drafted Mo Bamba. How did we think that was going to go towards his development? I know his motor was the issue, but do you know what I mean? Like, how do you draft someone in the lottery that high? And then again, I know they have to earn the minutes, but you got to develop them the right way. You got to put them in a system that focuses on their development. If you don't, they're not going to develop properly. And I know with other draft picks, it's different. Sometimes they get put into a better situation, so it works out better for them. But that's always been a problem about Orlando, even before Weltman got here. Like, if you don't put them in a proper system, they're not going to be the players you'd hope they'd be. And granted, I know it's easier said than done to just do that, but it just feels like that's become a problem once again because you drafted these two guys and you're telling them they got to fight to earn their minutes, which we understand. But it's like even if they do fight for it, how do we know they're getting fair minutes? Because for all we know, maybe they're outplaying a lot of the guys who are getting regular minutes. We don't know. We're not really in the facilities when they're practicing and training. So how do we know like the ins and outs? But that's the part that gets to me because it would again it would just hurt if they're not treated fairly just because they're rookies and they are working hard. They're putting effort in the offense and defensive side of the court, and then they still don't get minutes. That's the one thing that's like gonna get to me at day one if they're not getting minutes.
Yeah, and I think, and just to point out that Vucevic's first All-Star game was the year Bamba
The year,
was selected.
right?
And yeah, and we've seen it many times. Many players not getting the minutes or players not being put in the best position. We saw Aaron Gordon being now a champion. Shout out AG, but he was
Shout
not
out
put in
AG.
the best position here. Obama didn't turn out. EP, he didn't turn out, but that's for different reasons. But you know, the Magic Jamal Mosley, we knew there was going to be a time and day that was going to come when Mosley, Waltman, and Hammond had very tough decisions to make, and that day's here. It's as simple as it is. That day's here, and I'm just very excited to see what these decisions are.
I'm
All right.
excited to. Sorry, I'm just excited to see like how the season plays out because I think we are going to take the next step, even if we do trade away some of the vets. I think that we're just going to show like more internal growth within our players. I just want everyone to have a fair chance. That's all.
Yeah, I think at this point, folks can be a vet. Some of these other guys, JI at this point, can be a vet. Just natural progression from this roster at this point. I think some of these younger, older-ish guys can start being veterans. All right, and then to wrap this up, wish list and free agency, like top 3 free agents or players you want to see.
Well, one of them was Naz Reid. What a few hours ago.
I'm not gonna lie to
heard
you.
the
So,
news.
me too. I'm not gonna lie. I was keeping
But
an eye on Naz Reid.
I think he would have been a great fit on this team, man. It would have been great. But I'm trying to think of other free agents. I'm not thinking of too much that's on the market right now. Do you know of any notable free agents that's out there for the
All
summer?
right. So me personally, let me say this: if the Magic go sign a wing or a guard, I'm gonna be tight. I just don't. I just can't see why Orlando will go get another wing or another guard.
Yeah.
So for me, if Vooch wants to come back to Orlando, I'll take him with open arms. And then thank you, Chicago, for real.
Thank you, Chicago. Thank you.
And then Brooke Lopez. If Brooke Lopez, I think Brooke Lopez would be able to bring 3 and D, bring that championship level experience and mentorship to these other guys. I think he would be greatly valued here. And then let me say something. If Paul George is available, if Paul George is available in Los Angeles is looking to break their team up because Kawhi is not working out, and the Clippers want to take this youth movement. And I know they have no future capital. Or if Paul George is available, I would love to go get Paul George.
Who are you giving up?
Listen, you can have this coming up pick, you can have Denver's pick, you can have whatever pick you want, and then what do you want?
You have to give some players.
Huh? I know
Yeah.
you want to take young guys. The Clippers. Who do you want? Whoever like Paul and Franz, obviously. No, because that defeats the whole purpose. But it's like
Okay.
you want some of these guards. Cole, you want to go start? It's gonna. These are decisions that Weltman and Hammond were building up to. Whenever that star player was available, and I think Franz and Paulo specifically would grow so much playing alongside a player like Paul George, whoever player X is. But if Paul George is available, I believe that would work immensely. That create its own level shot, can shoot the 3 ball, defend. And then I think Markelle would make those guys lives a lot easier. And then if those and any other guys that they want, any of the rookies, then it would be available too. Jet Howard, Anthony Black as well. The Clippers, that's when Orlando has to take their shot. and start to take advantage. The Clippers have no future whatsoever past this core. So I think
I'm
that's
surprised. I didn't expect that from you.
you. If you were gonna make an abundance of players on this roster, that is the type of move I think Orlando is going to make pretty soon.
But where's Paul George for the starting lineup if you're keeping Franz and Paolo?
I mean, if it ends up being Kel, PG, Franz, Paulo, Dell, and then
Oh,
that defensive
I
versatility would be immense. The shortest guy would be Kel at like 6'5". You
I
can't
thought
go.
you would have had it to include Franz in the deal, to be honest. If you had to include Franz, would you include him?
I think Paul George is too much on the older side at this point
Okay, well, I get
to
that.
include Franz.
So everybody else is fair game besides Franz and Paolo.
Honestly, for a guy like Paul George, yes.
Wow. Hey, if this happens at the end of by the end of the summer, look back at this episode and
It's
wow.
just I just don't see a way that Orlando keeps all these guys, and a player like Paul George just doesn't come around often. It always comes down to when the situation is right and when that star is ready to be moved. No one expected Donovan Mitchell to be moved. And I think with
True.
the Kawhi situation, the Clippers window is closing rapidly. And the longer the Clippers wait, the longer you're going to have a return of what Washington got for Bradley Beal,
Yeah, no, that's true.
where you're going to get Landry Shamet in a second for Bradley Beal. Like I just think if that opens up, that's just a move that Orlando would have to be ready to make, and I think they are ready to make it.
I think they're ready to make a big blockbuster trade too. I think if they decide, like Paul George does become available, and they're like, hey, you know what, this is the time to get someone big. I'd be okay with getting Paul George too, and I'd agree. Anybody but Franz and Paolo, that's a fair game.
Yeah, because I saw the the rumor trade that went out there to New York for RJ Barrett and a couple of first rounders. I know we can beat that trade package.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, that's gonna wrap up today's episode. Thank you so much, Josh, for joining.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Of course, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know who you guys want to see Orlando go after in free agency. What moves do you think Orlando will make? Let me know in the comment section down below. See you guys next time. Peace.